I remember when I was in second grade, this is well, I remember, yeah, second grade, my father was always trying to establish a business. So he had a truck route. Maybe it was the potato business or something, or a trucking business. And we moved to Freeport, 28 Archer Street. And I remember waking up in the morning and seeing a squirrel running across the way. I'd never seen a squirrel because we came from Brooklyn. There was no squirrels in Brooklyn. So I remember that. And then I remember the time, so I'm in second grade, and it was my sister Marie and my brother, right? So I was in second grade. Johnny was 3 years older than me, so we used to take the bus to Holy Redeemer. That was the Catholic school. So he says to me, let's play a trick on Mama. You wait here, and I'll go in, coming home from school. So he goes in the house, and I'm waiting outside. And my mother says, where's Carmine? To my brother. He says, oh, he got hit by a car. Woo! My mother. And then I walked in, and I says, oh, we were only kidding. Oh, she gave him some beating. But she didn't hit me because I was only in second grade, so it was all his fault. And she was whacking him. He was running around the cage. I can still remember it. She was chasing him with the broom, wanted to hit him. My brother was a wild kid. He was wild. And at the end of the road, of course, we was on this canal in Freeport, and he used to run out and jump off and go in the water. But I was afraid I would never go jump off the pier and swim. So he was always a wacko kid. Yeah. That was that's my earliest memory. So I remember that.
Did you live with your grandparents?
Yeah, then when we moved back from Freeport, then we moved and we lived with my grandparents. 508 Humboldt Street. Yeah, that was an interesting time. And then I went to St. Cecilia School, and I wanted to be an altar boy. So I went to the altar boy, but we were very poor. And they came back and they said we had to buy those white cassocks. And Mom says, oh, we can't afford that. So then I never became an altar boy. But we went to Catholic school, So
How did they give them to you?
What? No, they didn't give them to you. No, you had to buy them. So that was an interesting experience. But I was always smart. I always would come home with the with the certificates of honor. It was always like a 90-degree student. And they used to call me the brain because I got all of these awards. And then when you had to go to high school, you had to take a test, for free high school. And they took 2 from every parish. But my grandmother lived, in a different house at that time. And it was St. Francis. And St. Francis, they didn't have a school. But my grandmother knew the pastors, but they were still allowed 1 student. So I says, I'll go from St. Francis instead of... Because I was never the smartest kid. I was always second. This kid, Joel Cream, I'll never forget him. He was the smartest kid. I'd get 95, he'd get 97. I'd get 97, he'd get 98. So when we graduated, I was always next in merit. He was always the smart kid. But I could never catch him. Because I always wanted to be a good student. So I remember that as my grammar school days. So then we wanted to go to high school. I went to Grandma and I said, Grandma, let's go to St. Francis and I'll get in from St. Francis. Because they didn't have a school. So she talked to the guy in Italian. He said, yeah, I sponsor you. So I went from St. Francis. Because I was so sure that this kid, Joel Crean, was going to go for first.
Yeah.
I was second, but you never take a chance. I'm going to take a chance. This will be a sure thing. So that's how I got to Bishop Auckland. Because it was a scholarship school. So now my brother, my sister quit high school because she didn't want to do that. She became a seamstress. So my brother, because my father was always in post office and mechanics and gas stations, so my brother wanted to be auto mechanic. So he went to Brooklyn Automotive to learn how to be a mechanic. And then when it was my turn, when I was graduating, my father says, you're either going to go to school or you're going to get your job on the gas station. And they used to come home with grease and mud. And, I said, no, I'll go to school. So then I went to Brooklyn Poly. And I said, how much? And they said, $250. I'll never forget. $250 was the year's tuition. So I went back to my mother. I says, I could go to City College for free, but I really want to go to Polytech. I don't know. I had crazy in my head. So she says, well, I got enough for 2 years. She says, I could put you to school for 2 years. I said, all right, I went back to school. I said, if I'm going to be in school for 2 years, what course should I take? So the guy says, well, take civil engineering, because you'll learn drafting and you'll learn surveying. You can get a job after 2 years. So I went back and said, okay, I'm going to be a civil engineer. That's how I got it. Because they didn't know anything. Nobody knew anything about school. They were all mechanics and all,
Yeah.
postal, no professionals at all. So I was the first one to go to school. And then when my advice was, when Louis was my nephew, he says, okay, I want to go be an engineer too. Well, Uncle Carmine. I said, all right, be a chemical engineer, because that was a hot topic. So he became a chemical engineer. When Glenn came, your dad, he says, okay, we're going to go to Cooper Union. What are you going to be? Chemical engineer. That's the hot ticket. So he followed that. And from there, then he went to Princeton. Because if you went to Cooper Union, their fellowship school was Princeton University. So that's how your dad got to Princeton. He was smart. Your father was a smart kid.
And he was engineer of the year. He got
Yeah,
money.
top engineer.
The top engineer.
Engineer gets to go to Princeton on a fellowship. But first of all, to get to Cooper Union, you had to be super smart. Because that was by test.
See,
And that's
Cousin
free.
Louis was on a waiting list.
Yeah.
Your father got accepted.
Right away.
But I right away, no waiting list.
And Uncle Donald got accepted twice to Cooper Union. Because we went, when he was applying, they said, early decision, they gave it to Uncle Donald. We said, no, we don't want early decision. So we said, no, we don't want it, just put him in the regular pool. And in the regular pool, they called him again, they said, okay, you can come to Cooper Union, but then he decided you had to be a doc. That's a true story.
You mentioned that living with your grandparents was interesting.
Yeah, because we're in the same house. And I slept in one bed with my brother. And my great-grandfather slept right across the way, because it was like a three-bedroom thing. Not three-bedroom, but three beds. So we lived there. And every morning, my great-grandfather, not my grandfather, my great-grandfather lived in the same house. And used to smoke a Italian cigar and drink a glass of wine every day.
And he lived to what age?
103 or something like that. And he used to shave. And he used to put a glass in the mirror, and he would shave himself. He was very sharp, but I only spoke Italian. He only spoke Italian. So, but I could understand Italian, but I couldn't speak it, because nobody spoke Italian. I mean, to us, they wanted us to be Americanized.
Let's start off with how your mom and dad met.
Well, my mother was born in Italy. She came across on the boat when she was 6 years old.
And she's in Ellis Island. She's in the
Yeah,
records.
she's in the
At
records
least
at
she
Ellis
was in the
Island. Her
records.
name is on the wall, Matera, M-A-T-E-R-A. So she became an immigrant, and she didn't speak a word of
She
English.
was about 4 years old when
But
she
she
came.
was very smart. She used to read all the books.
What was her maiden name?
Matera,
Material.
M-A-T-E-R-A. So she would read all the books, and that's how I can't spell a word, because every time I would get stuck, I'd say, hey, Ma, how do you spell, cognizant? And she would rattle it off, and she would tell me. So I never learned how to spell, very bad in spelling. Because I would never have to look anything up. I would just call, Ma, give me how you do this, and she would tell me. So she did that. Now she worked in a envelope factory in Manhattan, and my father told the story. He used to see this girl walking back and forth, from work. He says, that's the one I'm going to get.
They lived in the same neighborhood.
Same neighborhood, yeah. So he would see her walking back and forth, Italian girl, blah, blah, blah. And so he picked her out. And he says, okay, that's going to be who I pick. My father was a character. He was always trying to do better. No education, zero education. But he had a love of education. So, he loved it, but he wasn't...
And a desire to get ahead.
Get ahead. He always wanted to do a business. And he loved to play the horses. He was a horse player. So when he won, then he would share it. Okay, here's $1 each and stuff like that. Interesting.
So
He used to work 3 jobs, 3 jobs. And then he worked in the post office, was his last job. Yeah. I don't have too many memories, except that we used to go on our family picnics, family get-togethers. They used to do truck rides, because they always had trucks. And everybody used to pile in a truck, and we used to go crabbing at night. And everything was like dill and pepper sandwiches, we said. And you go out at night with, crabbing with flashlight, scooping, grabbing crabs. That's what I remember.
Okay, so
We never went on a vacation.
Your father
Zero.
met your mother.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got married. Where did they live?
Manhattan when they started, but then they moved. The only address I know is 508 Humboldt Street.
And that's where you lived with your grandparents.
Right.
And you stayed there until they bought the house?
Till they bought a house with my sister. When my sister got married, they bought a house together. So we moved to Maspeth.
And that's the final,
That's where, that's where we were. So I went to grammar school in Brooklyn, and then when they moved to Maspeth, then we were on the top floor, and Marie was on the bottom floor.
mhm.
So we stayed there. Until I met you. Then we moved to Elmont. That was our first house. And the grandmother's house that they said.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.